Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I am not making a VIP Kid video. I am wearing my VIP Kid shirt because this is actually my Journey conference shirt that I ordered. The next Journey, it's just like a big conference that VIP Kid holds. Was supposed to be in Atlanta. Long story short, it was canceled because of the coronavirus. So it was supposed to be today, so I'm wearing my VIP Kid shirt, but this video is not VIP Kid related. Today I am making a video about pet-friendly places in Charleston, South Carolina. So I've made a video, a vlog. Me and my best friend Sydney went to Charleston in February, and we brought Mako, who is my puppy, and we wanted to do all pet-friendly things. And so I did a lot of research when, we were planning our trip, and there were several blogs, a couple things here and there that kind of told me some pet-friendly places, but not really. So this kind of video was kind of hard for me to find. Personally, I am not big into reading blogs. I would much rather watch somebody's video with information rather than reading a blog. That's just a personal preference. I know a lot of people love reading blogs, which is why there are so many out there with a lot of good information. But for some reason, I just couldn't find a lot of information about dog-friendly places in Charleston. So I wanted to make that video for you guys today, just to be helpful, maybe if you were planning a trip to Charleston and you're taking your pup along. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was where we stayed. So if you watched my vlog, then you already know that we stayed in a super cute AirBNB, and it was pet friendly. So from what I remember, there were no additional pet fees or anything, but there are a ton of pet friendly hotels in downtown. So me and Sydney actually stayed outside of Charleston. We didn't stay downtown. We stayed in a town called Summerville, which is in the Plantation District, and it was very beautiful, and our AirBNB was so cute and was pet friendly, which is 2 thumbs up. So you can definitely find a pet-friendly place to stay, and normally those are pretty easy to find. I mean, if you are looking on AirBNB, you can filter it and make sure that all the places that you are searching are pet-friendly, and you can do the same thing with hotels. Normally, if I book a hotel, I go through booking.com, and they have a filter where you can select pet-friendly only, and that's what will show up in your search. So there's definitely a lot of pet-friendly places that you can stay. So one thing that I noticed when I was looking at the different blogs and things that I saw, off of Pinterest or whatever, a lot of people said, we stayed in this beautiful hotel that was pet-friendly, and we left our dog in the hotel for the trip. And that's totally fine. If that is your dog's thing, then go for it. Some dogs like to just stay put. I know that when my family and I went to Savannah, we took Mako and Bowser, and we left our other 2 older dogs in the room, and they were perfectly fine. So some dogs love that. They love to just be chill, as long as they know that they're with you and you didn't leave them back at home and took a big long trip and somebody's babysitting them or whatever. Mako is just not the kind of dog right now that wants to stay behind. He hates to be alone, and on this trip it was me, Sydney, and Mako, and so there was no other dog for him to buddy up with, and so I wanted to be able to take him everywhere that we went. Yeah, I didn't want to leave him in our AirBNB at all. Especially by himself. I knew he would be so sad. And he's a very curious, adventurous dog, so I knew that he would want to get out and explore with us. So that is what our goal was. So we got down, and we didn't really do much the first night we were there. We kind of ate and hung out in the AirBNB, and then the next day was our exploring day. We were only there for 2 nights and 3 days. So our first night we just stayed in the room, got dinner or whatever, and then our next day was our exploring day, because the day after we were going home. And so the main thing that we wanted to do was go to the Magnolia Plantation and Gardens. So this was so much fun, and you could easily spend an entire day at this place. It was beautiful, and it is massive, like over 500 acres, I think is what they said. And it used to be way bigger with all the history and things. It just turned out now what they have for the tourist attraction is 500 acres. And so I did read online that it was pet friendly, and it most certainly was. The only thing that you can't do with your dog really is actually like tour the plantation home. So anyway, I just wasn't torn up about not being able to actually tour the home, because there was so much outside that you could explore, and it was just beautiful. So what we did was you buy a ticket just to be able to like enter. And so we got our ticket, we went in, they have what's called the Peacock Cafe. So we got there in the morning and we had breakfast at the Peacock Cafe. And it's not, I was thinking, when you hear cafe, you think like a place that you go in, you get a coffee, you sit down. This was much more like a concession stand, which is not a bad thing. So you just you walked up to the counter, you ordered your food, or I ordered like a biscuit and a hot chocolate, and then off to the side they had like some little cement tables that you could sit at. Now it is called the Peacock Cafe because there are actual peacocks at the cafe. So they were just like walking around and chilling while we were eating our breakfast, and Mako was like, what the heck, like this is a big bird. So that was super fun that he was able to like experience that and see the peacocks. And I don't think I had ever seen a peacock in real life before either, so that was really cool for me too. The one thing I will say is watch out for the poop, because there was peacock poop all over the ground and I stepped in it a couple times. So yeah, that was super fun. The breakfast was decent. And then we were going to go to the nature train. We got, I can't remember what time it was, but they sell you tickets for the nature train, and so you have to be there at a certain time, and we just got like the next one. So we had breakfast and then went right on the nature train. And so, no, actually, before we got on the nature train, we killed some time. We walked around I think it was called the Bible Garden. They have so many trails and things that you can walk on, but they had like a small one next to where the nature train was, and so we just kind of walked through there. Mako loved it. Mako walked the entire time we were here. So needless to say, he was just like exhausted. But anyway, we walked through the little, like I said, I think it was called like a Bible Garden, something like that. And then after that, we just got on the nature train, and Mako was allowed on the nature train. I actually Mako has his own bag that I carry with me. And so he has like a microfiber towel that I take everywhere. And it came in super handy on this trip. So what I did was just take his towel out and I put it between me and Sydney, and he sat on his little towel the whole time on the nature train. Every now and then he would hop in my lap or he would hop in Sydney's lap just so he could get a better view of what we were looking at. But yeah, the whole time he was perfectly fine on the nature train. Super pet friendly. Okay, so after the nature train, we got off, we did like a little maze that they had, and like I said, Mako was walking this entire time, so he walked a ton. On the nature train, we found out that they offered a swamp tour, a walking swamp tour, and so me and Sydney thought that was super cool. So after we walked a ton, we went all through the gardens. We even went to like the little tower that they have that you can climb up, and you can look out on the like where they used to have rice fields, and it was really cool. And Mako loved it. Like, he was just so excited to be walking around and seeing all of this stuff, sniffing everything, smelling all the new smells, walking up the stairs on the tower and being able to see out like that. I can't even imagine how cool that was for him. It was cool for me. So after we kind of explored as much of the gardens as we could, like I said, you could spend an entire day there and probably still not see all of it. So after we did that, you have to buy a ticket for the walking swamp tour. I think it was like $8. And then they give you a code because the swamp tour, or like the swamp, was separate from the garden. So you actually drove to the swamp. It was still on the grounds, but the swamp actually had its own parking lot. So we drove over to the swamp parking lot and parked there. And they give you a code, and it's got like a big gate that you have to put your code in, and then you can go in, because there's like no attendant there. So this was really, really cool. A little tidbit for you guys. The swamp at Magnolia Plantation and Gardens was actually what Shrek's swamp was based off of, which me and Sydney thought that was really cool. We didn't know that the writers, I guess, for Shrek actually came down to Charleston and looked at the swamp and based Shrek's swamp off of the swamp at Magnolia Plantation and Gardens. So that was pretty cool. But Mako was allowed to go through this. It is mostly like a boardwalk kind of thing that weaves through, and there's a lot of information all through it about the different animals you can see. I will say that you need to be careful with your pets if you take them to the swamp tour, because there are a few places that go off of the boardwalk, and it's just kind of like you're going through a trail. And there was a part where you walk around one of the big lakes that they have there, that is home to many of the alligators that they have. And so when we were on the nature train, if you watch my vlog, you already know this. If not, when we were on the nature train, we saw a ton of alligators. It was really cool, and the guy who was driving the train was telling us, pointing them out, and he even showed, like, they have these little boards in the water that the alligators can crawl up on to sun, because they're cold-blooded animals, and so they need the sun to stay warm. So they put those out in the lake, so that prevents them from, like, crawling up onto the gravel and the asphalt and laying in the way, in like the way of traffic. So anyway, they have those things. Well, me and Cindy were walking, we're on our swamp tour. We're like, oh, this is so fun. We come to the same exact lake that we saw on our train. Now, and this is just a walking tour, so we're walking around this lake. And this was probably about an hour later, like an hour after we were on the train. So it was much warmer. The sun was actually out, and there were way more alligators out on the like sunning boards. And so Sydney was like, oh, it'll be fine. I was freaking out. It turned out to be fine. The alligators didn't mess with us or anything, and actually Magnolia Plantation and Gardens has never had an incident between a guest and a gator. So, but it still made me a little nervous having Mako, since he is kind of small. He never really like noticed the alligators, so I don't think it didn't bother him. But I would just be careful if you have like a yappy dog that likes to bark at things. Maybe, I don't really know. I don't know what like makes an alligator notice you. I don't know if it's noise or what, but Mako was very quiet. He doesn't really bark unless he feels threatened. So that was not an issue, but I would beware if you're like bringing a small yappy dog. So before we did the swamp tour, like I said, we were walking around. We actually got off the train, and they had a gift shop that is connected to the plantation. And I had read some things online that were a little, it was like kind of mixed reviews about it. Some people were saying, yeah, you can take your dog in there, and other people were like, no, you can't take your dog in there. So I was just like, let's try it and see. So I walked in, and the ladies there were super nice, and they were just like, your dog can't walk, but if you can carry him, you can look around. So that was perfectly fine. Mako is a smaller dog, so I was able to just pick him up, and we were able to kind of, look at everything in the gift shop. Mako does have a stroller, which I'll kind of get into later, but we didn't take his stroller out because this was a place that he could kind of walk around, so we didn't think that we would need it. But I can almost guarantee that if you have like a dog stroller, that they would let you in there with that. So as long as you can pick them up and they're not like going to pee on their floor, is probably what their concern is, you'll be okay. Okay, so we finished up at the plantation and gardens, and we decided we were going to go get some lunch. We were hungry, and so we had decided the night before that when we were finished with the gardens that we would go downtown and just, you know, walk around. And so we got in the car, and Mako passed out. He has a little bed in the back seat of my car, and he curled up and went to sleep. He was exhausted. We walked a ton. We hit 10,000 steps just that morning before noon. So he was just exhausted. So he slept while we went downtown. So we drove down there, and we actually used Mako's stroller, which was the plan. I knew that he would be super tired and would not want to walk around downtown. Plus, I just feel more secure with him in his stroller, especially in cities and like crowded places. It just makes me feel better knowing that he's safe, and that he won't he won't run off or anything like that. Not that he would, but I don't know. It's just a me thing. He didn't ride the entire time. There were times that we took him out, and, you know, like Sydney would push the stroller and I would walk Mako, and it was fine, and he was able to get a few extra steps in. So, like I said, we decided we wanted lunch. We found a place called the Brown Dog Deli, which was pet friendly. They have a pet friendly patio. So this was kind of weird. The patio, most of the patios I've noticed downtown are in the back of the restaurant. So you have to actually go through the restaurant with your dog to be able to get to the patio. But Mako was in his stroller, so we were able to just push him right to the back into the patio, and his stroller has like a thing that comes down and like covers, and it snaps closed so that he can't jump out or anything. And so we just pulled that back, and he sat with us at like his own little chair at the table. And that was really good. There were a lot of dogs there, big dogs, small dogs. There was one that was sitting in a lady's lap at the table next to us, and there were other huge dogs that were just like laid out on the patio. So super, super pet friendly if you're looking for a good lunch place. It was a little weird because they didn't serve French fries, and it was a sandwich shop. So I'm not reviewing the restaurant. It was good, but I would serve French fries at a restaurant, especially a sandwich shop. Just my thing. All right, so after we ate, we just kind of walked around downtown. A lot of the places in downtown Charleston are pet friendly, and I noticed that a lot of them had like a little, I think it was a pink sticker, and it just said like pet friendly, so you would know that your dog could go in there. Now, I will say, I think it makes a difference when your dog is in a stroller versus just walking. So, for example, there is a little like candy shop that me and Sydney had gone into the day that we were just walking around downtown. So we go in, Mako's in his stroller, everything's perfectly fine. Like, I bought some stuff, Sydney bought some stuff. Like, they saw that Mako was in the stroller. Didn't say anything, everything was perfectly fine. The next day, we actually had to run back by that candy store. Sydney wanted to get a souvenir, and so I actually was just walking Mako. It was just easier that morning, and so I walked by, and as we were walking by it the second day, I noticed that there was a sticker on their window that said that they were not pet friendly because they're like a candy store, like one of those candy stores where you can like scoop it out and put it in the bag, like you make your own candy bags, I guess. And so it said that they were not pet friendly. And so I thought, I didn't take him in, just being on a leash because it said no pets. But the day before I had him in his stroller. So if you are planning on taking your dog somewhere, I would highly recommend getting a pet stroller because you can take them like 10 times more places as long as they're in a stroller. So we also went to a couple dog parks. Like I said, Charleston is super pet friendly, and they had a lot of dog parks. Long story short, Mako was not a fan. He did not like all of those other dogs. But if that is your dog's thing, there are so many dog parks that you can take your pups to. And lots of people, lots of other dogs that they can play with. So super pet friendly in that aspect. So after we had walked around for a little while, we were like, you know what sounds good? Some ice cream. So we just kind of like looked up a random ice cream shop online that looked good, and we ended up going to Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams, which, oh y'all, so good. It was like homemade ice creams. I cannot even begin to explain how delicious they were. But anyway, we were trying to find a place that had one of those stickers on it that said they were pet friendly. But none of the ice cream shops that we passed had one. And so we were just like, you know what, let's just try this place. We'll go in. If they tell us to leave, they tell us to leave. So we went into Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams, and we had Mako in a stroller, and nobody said anything. And they definitely saw him, like they were taking notice, and like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. So, I mean, I don't think it was a big deal because he was in the stroller. I think what a lot of people are concerned with when a dog is just like walking around on a leash is that they're going to potty in the area, which is, I mean, that happens. So I think when they're in a stroller, it just makes everybody feel better. They're like, oh, like he's not gonna bother me. He's not gonna bother other people. He's not gonna poop right here. So like I said, I just highly, highly, highly recommend getting some kind of a pet stroller because you can take them everywhere. Alright, so the last thing that we did was a ghost tour. So we actually had some time to kill. We were like just exhausted, but we didn't want to drive back to our Airbnb and then drive all the way back downtown because we only had like an hour and a half to kill. And so we just like went and chilled in the car for a little bit. We just sat and like took a break, drank some water. Mako slept for a little while. I actually fed him his dinner in the car. So that is another thing I will recommend, getting a bag for your dog. I highly recommend the Overland Pet Gear like dog backpack. I have a review video on my channel here, and it's just like the best bag ever. So it has little like fold down placemat almost, and little pop-up silicone bowls. So I just mushed up some of Mako's wet food and put it in there. I ate it all. And then he just slept, and me and Sydney chilled in the car for a little while, and then it was time to go on our ghost tour. So I wanted Mako to walk for the ghost tour. So my whole reasoning behind like having Mako walk in the beginning and then at the end was to tire him out. Our first night in the Airbnb, Mako was up all night long because there were just different sounds he wasn't used to, and he was just like on guard the entire night. And I think it was also confusing him that Sydney was there. So like the Airbnb was just one big room, and it had two beds, and all night he was just back and forth, back and forth. Sydney slept, I did not. So I was like, look, I'm going to be driving home the next day. Like, Mako has got to sleep tonight. So I was like, I got to wear him out. So he actually walked during our ghost tour. So the Bulldog Tours are pet friendly. So I actually had to message the Bulldog Tours, or I did like their chat on their website, just asking which ones were pet friendly, because I couldn't find any information straightforward on their website, and things that I was seeing were a little conflicted on like reviews and stuff. And like I use Bring Fido, the app, and I couldn't really find a straightforward answer about which tours were pet friendly. And so I ended up just shooting them a message, and they got right back to me. Super helpful. Service animals are allowed on all of their tours. However, some of the tours are more difficult for like any kind of animal, I guess, but specifically service animals. So they also told me that they had 3 tours that were open to like family pets, and so those are the Ghost and Graveyard Tour, which is what we did, the Dark Side of Charleston tour, which is actually a tour that me and Sydney took the last time we were in Charleston, and the Charleston Strolls, which I've never done, but from what I'm reading, it's just like a tour of like downtown Charleston, a walking tour. So yeah, the Ghost and Graveyard Tour was super fun. They actually did take you into a graveyard, and I don't know if you're like superstitious or anything, but I was not about to have Mako pee on one of the graves. And so when we actually went into the graveyard, I carried Mako, which wasn't bad at all. We were only there for maybe 10-15 minutes. And there was actually another dog on our tour, which was really cool. And he walked the entire time. So totally just up to you whether you want them walking through a graveyard or not. I did not want Mako walking through a graveyard, so I carried him for most of the time. So that ended our day of exploring downtown. We were going to get some food and take it back to the Airbnb, but the restaurant that we wanted to get food from was already closed for some reason. So we ended up just getting Chick-fil-A and taking it back to the room. So that ended our day, and then the next morning we were leaving, so we packed all of our stuff up and headed to Poogan's Porch for brunch. Poogan's Porch is pet friendly. Poogan's Porch is actually named after the neighborhood dog Poogan, and he actually has like a little gravestone outside right next to the porch, and we sat on the front porch. We got lucky that it wasn't pouring down rain. If you are not from the South, I don't know if it's raining everywhere, but if you're not from Georgia specifically, then you don't know that it's been raining here for like 87 years and it hasn't stopped. And so we were actually lucky while we were in Charleston that the one day we explored, there was no rain and the sun actually came out. But it did pour down rain all the way home, and we got lucky that morning that it didn't rain. We were able to sit on the patio. However, even if it had been raining, it is a covered porch, and so you could definitely still sit out there while it was raining, and it shouldn't be an issue unless there was like crazy sideways rain. But it was really nice, very pleasant. There was some like road construction happening, or I guess it was road construction. I'm not sure what they were doing. But Poogan's Porch is set right on the street, and so you just have to be careful if you have like a runner of a dog. Mako is not that way. If I'm not going, he's not going. So I took out his little microfiber towel and just set it on the floor because we did not take his stroller. We didn't take his stroller out anyway. We had it in the car, but I just put his little towel on the ground underneath me, and he sat there the entire time. He even laid down. Poogan's Porch was super, super nice. They brought out ice water for Mako, poured it in a little bowl for him and everything. And yeah, so we had brunch. I fed Mako some of my eggs. He loves eggs, so he was happy. And we walked around just for a little bit more, enough time for Sydney to get a souvenir. And then we headed back home. So several super, super friendly dog places down in Charleston. The two that I would just like highly, highly recommend are Poogan's Porch. One, because they're super pet friendly. Two, because their food is just amazing, you guys. Like, if you love good food, which who doesn't, go to Poogan's Porch. It's thebomb.com. So Poogan's Porch I highly recommend, and any of the Bulldog Tours. Like I said, Sydney and I did the Dark Side of Charleston tour the last time we were there, and it was so cool. I would definitely do that one again and take Mako with me. And the Ghost and Graveyard tour that we did on the most recent trip was awesome. Like, it was really, really cool, and it's just so awesome that they let you bring your pets. Like, that makes a big difference to me. So yeah, there's just a lot you can do in Charleston with your pets. So anyway, I hope that this video was helpful. Like I said, I couldn't really find anything like this when I was planning our trip, and so I just wanted to make this in hopes that it would be helpful for someone else who is planning a trip to Charleston and wanted to take their dog along. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll put links to all of the places that I mentioned down below so that you can check them out. If it's somewhere that you might want to eat, or you might want to go check out with your pup, you can look at their website and see prices and all that kind of stuff. So I'll link everything below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.